Questions have come. Some are in form of comments only and some are questions. So I'll try my best because we have very less time, but I'll just select a few questions for answer by Dr. Swamy. I'll try to amend the question a little bit for making it more precise. Education policy is by educational experts, but it appears that all of them are affected by the so-called secular aspect. What can be done under such situation to improve our education system to bring back correct history? Yeah.
I agree that if you selected the existing professors or so-called educationists without looking into their background, you're not going to get any change. But over the years, there have been people who have left their very profitable professions, sacrificed it for the sake of giving you the correct history. And I can quote Mr. Rajiv Malhotra, who was a billionaire in America, group vice president of a very important telecom company of America. And suddenly at the age of 43, he decided that what he needs to do is write about the history of India. You can bring him in here. He lives in the United States, but he keeps coming here and he speaks only about Indian history, Indian culture and so on. There's many others I can give names of. And they should be constituted into a committee and given free hand to produce a textbook for what our education should be about. And it should bring in those aspects of our ancient tradition which the West is now adopting very silently and quietly. Our rishis never believed that your cognitive intelligence, how much physics you know, how much mathematics you know, is really the formation of your personality. The rishis said there are a number of dimensions of intelligence. Now the West calls that as emotional intelligence. The art of speaking in a way that you appeal to the other person and you bring him over instead of confronting him and destroying him. Of course, this doesn't apply to all, but you have to assess what kind of person is he. Is he out of ignorance? If a person out of ignorance is having an opinion different from yours, then you have to have a certain style of which emotional intelligence teaches you. That is a field by itself, and it is being taught, for example, at Harvard as a separate paper in the Department of Education and Department of Psychology. Then there is something called moral intelligence, where your mind is prepared to do the best, but to make sure that you are not committing any moral crimes of either stealing somebody else's work or feeling jealous about him. These emotions which affect your morality, that is another form of intelligence. Like that, there are so many dimensions of intelligence. So our curriculum should be to prepare what? A new Indian who thinks in terms of innovation. Economic growth, for example, is not only due to more capital and more labor, but moving to a higher plane of innovations, from bullock carts to jet engines. This being because of innovations, from moving from lanterns to electric lights, is a jump, has transformed society. From writing letters and having it delivered manually, we now have internet, emails. So the innovation is what should be in the mind of every Indian. That is the education system we want to create. We couldn't do it in this term, our government, because every time we selected, the bureaucracy selected people, the same old people who would become phased out if we have a new educational system. They came and they created a racket. We have to do it differently. And so, therefore, you will have to give us one more term to do this.
there are some few questions on conversion, but I will just put it together and pose it to Dr. Swamy. Do you think there is a threat to the 80% of the Hindu population, the 80% of the population which is Hindus, from the increasing population of Muslims and Christians in the country, and whether an anti-conversion law is needed to counter this? There are few questions, I have just put it together.
Let's get certain factual positions correct. Christian population is not increasing due to more babies being formed with that, in that family. Christians are modern, they're educated, and they are all compelled, like Hindus who are educated, to restrict their family size so they can educate their children. Christian population can potentially increase by conversion, for which Indian Christians in India are not responsible, but it is induced from abroad through NGOs and things like that, and foreign missionaries will be coming here. And that must be stopped. And we need an all India ban on ban on conversions, on inducement. If somebody on his own heart feels that I don't want to be a Hindu, I want to be a Christian, nobody can stop him under the Constitution of India. But if he says that because I have been promised a scholarship in America, I can't get it any other way, so therefore I'm becoming Christian, well, that is inducement that we will not allow. And as far as the Islamic community is concerned, it is both infiltration, which we don't have for the Christian community, infiltration and a higher rate of growth of population, largely because they are much poorer than the Hindus. If you take the family size of a Kerala Muslim and compare it with the average family size of a Hindu in UP, it is the Muslim family has a smaller average family than the Hindu of UP, because the Hindu in UP is also much poorer than the Kerala Muslim. So that family size, in my opinion, has got to do with the level of economic growth. But when the Muslims start demanding reservations, I say no. And your poverty cannot be a reason for reservations, because Brahmins are also poor, but they never ask for reservations. And you ruled this country for 700 years and you're still asking for reservations. There's something wrong with you. Therefore, no reservations for ex-ruling classes, whoever they are. But the infiltration part is serious. And there you can see all international agencies, they will not accept Rohingyas, for example, but they want us to accept. Rohingyas are the people who in 1944 declared, their leaders declared, we are with Muhammad Ali Jinnah. When Burma set up its constituent assembly to prepare a constitution for Burma, that time the Rohingya leaders nominated to that commission said, our heart is with Pakistan. That time it was not called Bangladesh, but it was our heart is with Pakistan. Please enable us to go to Pakistan. So those very groups today coming to India, our country is not a dharamshala that anybody can come with this bedroll and put it out and go to sleep here. It is not possible. And so we have to have a very selective policy. If you are an individual who wants to convert, no problem. But if you are being induced to convert, then of course we will put a stop to it.
Another question on the economy. Most of the countries in the world hold US dollars as their reserve, and so US dollars has become strong. But flip side is US has high current account deficit and US dollar is not backed by assets like gold. So are we heading for a world monetary collapse? His further question continues. US has monopoly over world currencies, which gives USA immense power. Then currency crisis in the world is affected by this monopoly. Are you still advocating for globalization and backdrop of current tariff wars?
I am advocating for globalization of Indian agriculture, which is the one thing that is not being permitted by the United States and Europe to globalize. Why? Because our wheat, our rice, our vegetables, our flowers are much, much cheaper than theirs. And so if it is globalized, all their farmers will become unemployed and people will buy our rice and our wheat also. There is a ban which they have put. Even mangoes, we are still fighting. Europe prefers to import some third standard, third level mango from Africa, but won't import from India. So globalization, where it should have benefited us, we did not pursue, and that is in agriculture. And we have allowed the American capital to play havoc here. They have an advantage because anybody in America can take a loan from a bank for 2% interest. Whereas in India, if you want to take a loan, you will not get it less than 12%. Unless Goa, you have a lower rate, I don't know. But 12% is the normal, and for people who want on-spot loans like retail shopkeepers, they have to pay as much as 18%. So this inequality between the rate of interest charged in America and India, that is what is giving them the strength. Dollar is not connected to the gold, it's correct, but the rupee also is not connected. It is the problem of our rupee following is not got to do with American perfidy. It's got to do with the fact that a large number of rupees in this country, in black money, are now fleeing the country. And when there's an oversupply of rupees for dollars, the value is bound to go down. These can be fixed by other means. Dollar will be a dollar as long as the Americans are the most developed country in the world. And the day they cease to be, some other currency will come. At the moment, there's no challenge to the dollar.
There's another question. How did you come to have right-wing views despite attending Harvard and Delhi University, which was quite liberal?
I think my mother's influence. My mother was a hardcore Hindu, as all mothers are. We are surviving today only because of our women who brought up their children. But I'm not a hardcore Hindu. I am an intelligent Hindu. That's the difference.
There's a different type of question. One of our audience members want to know about the incident mentioned by T.N. Session in his book about Rajiv Gandhi wanting to make you the Prime Minister instead of Chandrasekhar in 1990 November. So he wants you to comment on, know the inside story.
In 1989 or 88, VP Singh was kicked out of Congress party, and he founded a separate group called some Jan Morcha or something like that. And then he proposed to the Janata Party that why not we both merge and accept VP Singh as the leader. I was opposed to it. As a consequent, 99% of Janata Party merged with VP Singh's party, and I was left with 1%. And I, of course, became president of the Janata Party there. Everybody wrote us off. Media was making fun of us all that time. At that time, I was still a member of parliament. The Bofors thing had broken out. So in parliament, everybody was targeting Rajiv Gandhi. So I got up and said, targeting Rajiv Gandhi is fine, but Arun Nehru is the senior most minister of Mr. VP Singh, and he is the crook who got all the money. There was an uproar in parliament, but the consequence was that Rajiv Gandhi became very friendly to me despite his mother's antipathy to me. Of course, she was not alive then, but I was very much against her. I'm against most of the Nehru ladies, but I've not had problems with Nehru ladies. So, he came to see me and said, I propose to you that whatever formula you decide, I will help in toppling this government. I don't know why people have the impression that I can topple governments, but he asked me, can you topple this government? It's an anti-national government, etc. I never liked BBC anyway, because I know some things about it which I can't say now. He's dead and gone. But I was immediately agreed. I said, you will have to agree to whoever I say should be the Prime Minister. So, Rajiv Gandhi had 220 MPs at that time. Majority was 272. So I needed 52 plus MPs. And Chandrasekhar was unhappy with VP Singh but was in his party. And he could bring 52. So Chandrasekhar and I were very good friends. So I asked Chandrasekhar whether he would like to be Prime Minister. He said, yes. What do I have to do? I said, bring me 52 MPs and I'll make you Prime Minister. So he said, let's work together. So both of us worked together and created that 54 or 55 MPs. And then they came out. And now we had majority. At that stage, Rajiv Gandhi said, I can't get along with this Chandrasekhar. So my mother was also against him, and he also, I'm not able to speak to him. Chandrasekhar is old style, you know. He would take, if you go to a conference with him or a meeting with him, for the first 2/3 of the meeting, he will talk about anecdotes about past and, you know, about which food is good and how much masala you should put in aloo, and then he will talk about everything, and then finally the last 2/3 he will speak. So Rajiv Gandhi said, I can't. I said, listen, if you know Indian music, you will not object. He said, how? I said, there is alap in Hindi, in Indian music. It was final music. Then he laughed, he said, okay. But at the last minute, 4 days before the oath-taking ceremony, he said, you go and take the oath. I can't have this man. So I told him, I will have the stamp of betrayer. You can't rule this country unless you have moral authority. I brought him up, and I betray him. The world will think I betray him. And what is the use of being Prime Minister? I don't want to be Prime Minister under these circumstances. And that's how I persuaded them to support Chandrasekhar and didn't agree. But unfortunately, some books, T.N. Session and others, were witnesses to this. They thought I was crazy. But I think that this craze for post is the worst thing that has happened to Indian politicians when they get it. Because if you see all the great men of our society, none of them had a post. JP did not have a post. He has never been even an MLA. What about Mahatma Gandhi? So all through, there is this system which is unfortunately called the Brahmanical system, where the Tyagi and the Jnani is placed at the top. When I went to Harvard, the first question my classmate asked me when I got to class, and before the professor came, is, how did you people accept Mahatma Gandhi as your leader? So I said, why not? He said, he's not properly dressed. Just a little piece of cloth. And you have accepted leader. I said, in your country, leader must be well dressed. He said, of course, you must have the best suit and best tie, shining shoes. Not like this. He said, what happens if Gandhi comes and starts wanting to lead you people? He said, we'll put him in jail for indecent exposure. That is what, in a nutshell, is our Hindu culture. We venerate the man who sacrifice. That I think our politicians should learn. That you can be in any place. So I have no regrets that the Prime Ministership was within my hands. If I just said yes, Venkatraman was the president, he was a congressman, and I would have been, but it would have been a terrible block in my conscience.
A quick comment on ban on cow slaughter.
Yes.
We are running out of time, but a quick...
Quick answer is, it is part of the Constitution, Article 48, Directive Principles, which although an individual cannot agitate in a court for it, but the government is directed under Article 37 to implement every section, every article of the Directive Principles. How is now being slowly recognized in the West, and that's why I'm sure that cow will soon be sacred in India too. A2 milk is now being held to be special. In American supermarkets, you get separate cartons with A2 milk written on it, 4 times the price of the American milk, American cow milk. And soon, cow for the small farmer, as a essential item will come to bring. It's something we have to bring it about. There's nothing wrong. We have made peacock also sacred. Nobody can kill a peacock in India. And a cow there should be a comprehensive national law to ban cow slaughter.
A quick comment on the temple takeover by government, which is going on for so many...
Yes, there are
almost a century.
4.5 lakh temples in government hands, and for years and years. I have got already one order for a Tamil Nadu temple called Savanayaka Nataraj temple in this town of Chidambaram. There the Supreme Court has said temple takeover by government can only be for a temporary period. And therefore now I have a case coming in the Andhra High Court that Tirupati has been taken over for 85 years by the government. And so it should now be freed. I'm very confident we'll get success. And that will be a revolution, and that will lead to the next step. Order.
How much growth rate India would have achieved if Dr. Subramanian Swamy was the finance minister, and how?
Not less than 10%. And my first step would be to abolish income tax.
I think on a lighter note, a last question. You speak of the role of destiny in your life. I know you have Nicha Bhanga in your Kundali, which influences outcomes. Where does it place karma? As an economist, what would be the percentage of destiny and free will?
That's there in the Shastras already. That future is decided by way of Purva Janma Karma, which is your Jadagam, to your karma of today. And 3, the will of God. I mean, God can change these things. So there's no such thing as determinism in your birth. Destiny is the combination of these 3. And it's got nothing to do with God's favoring you or that your life is decided the day you are born. Your life still can be molded by your determination and your action. And the only thing is that you run against a handicap if you have bad karmas of the past. So please do good karmas in this life so that the next birth you don't suffer.
Thank you everybody. I'm sorry we are not able to accommodate all your questions.